Russ.
Hello.
You are entering Not Nosy, Just Curious podcast coming from you from this aging warrior coming on 7 decades. And I'm going to ask you the curious question today. I know you, you're my special friend, and I know you with this special gift. You want to tell us about that gift?
Okay. Just I've been able to hear, smell, talk to spirit since I was about 3 years old, and it's just developed as I've grown older. And my grandmother is the one who taught me how to do this. She herself, she had died when I was 3, and whenever I was alone in her house, she would come out and sit down by me and tell me, this is what we're going to do. She basically was my teacher. And even though she was in spirit, she was my grandmother. She wasn't a ghost or anything negative. You know, it was all done through love, that she taught me how not to be frightened of. And she taught me how to protect myself and how to ask questions. Don't take anything without asking a question. And so when I grew older, I was able to just sit down with people and help them with their concerns, their wants, and to help them understand what was going on in their world. And I've learned that you really don't know anything until someone else will ask you a question. So it's through others' questions that everyone learns.
Yeah, but you have practiced real discretion with this gift. Do you think you've threaded this lightly in order not to be put into the kook psychic category?
Well, yeah, my grandmother, she taught me that I don't go up to people and say, I don't do anything without permission.
So
So,
permission is very necessary.
correct, yeah. And so, if people know I do this, and if they ask me a question, I'll answer them, but I just won't go up to a stranger and say anything to them, because I don't want anybody in my business, so I'm not going to get into their business.
So how do you give this your gift credibility?
Just basically, it's not intrusive at all. I respect I respect the living and those that want to give a message from the other side. I respect their space, if you will, and so I just share what I.
Do you think everybody has this gift?
Well, we all have certain days where we're very intuitive, and we go, let's say, go with your own hunches, and basically the whole thing is just knowing. When I hear something, I don't interpret it. I say it as I hear it, because coming it's not coming to me for me to interpret and then give a different message.
So Russ, are your intuitions extra fine tuned? Is that what it is? Are your hunches more fine tuned than most? You pay attention to them and the lay person doesn't?
I think the people who give me the messages and everything else, it's like, I guess basically I'm not in this to become a wealthy person. I'm not doing it for the money or the recognition or anything else. It's just I say what I hear. And there's been an instance where I was told to tell somebody about a green cow.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, as we were speaking, Spirit told me what the interpretation of the green cow was. And this person understood, because it was something that they had as a child. It was like a stuffed toy or something.
So do you find the gift, has it crippled you socially? I mean, can you go to parties and get busied with spirits, or have you learned to navigate that?
Well, I I have done readings. I have done readings as a group and everything else. But when you're doing a group, you have to kind of you have to know who's in the room, because you don't want to say something in a group that might offend someone else. But the way I do it is, if I have something for a person who's in that setting, I'll just tell them, come see me later, and I'll explain what I can't say in a group. Because I'm not going to embarrass anyone or say something that somebody else can use against somebody who's in the room.
Okay.
And after I say it, I don't remember what I say because it's not for me.
Oh, you don't remember?
No, I choose not to remember. That's one of the deals I made when I said I would be willing to share this, because I have enough of my own stuff to remember, let alone someone else's.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. All right.
Right.
What do you think of these psychics that are out here advertising and promising? And if you buy this candle and all these kooks, I mean, it really kind of destroys your what am I trying to say, Russ? It kind of makes you guys look like kooks, right?
The clock's it's the clock. I can't hear you over the clock. Sorry.
What time is it, Mr. Clock?
Yeah.
What do you say for these psychic people who, rent these buildings? Come on in, come one, come all, and they come in for $30 they get, but you got to buy this crystal and you got to buy this candle, and they're monopolizing and making money off of somebody's vulnerabilities. Now, how do you circumvent that bad rep?
I guess if someone chooses to go there, if they believe in the person they're going to go see, then if they buy a candle, the candle may have special powers only because that client believes that candle is going to help them.
Yeah, but doesn't that kind of prey on the vulnerability of that person at that time?
It does, but is that any different from taking your car to a mechanic who wants to sell you something even though you don't need it?
That's a good point.
And so, in other words, you have to, before you take your car to a mechanic, you should ask questions. Before you go see somebody who's going to be a psychic or an intuitive or whatever, ask them questions prior to opening your checkbook.
Oh, all right.
In other words, question, you aren't going to take your car to somebody who you don't have confidence in. Don't go sit down with somebody just because they say they can talk to your mother, and ask them questions. In other words, we all need something just so that you believe more in what you're listening to.
So do you get asked interview questions? I mean, do people ask you what makes you so special? What sets you apart? Why is your gift so amazing? And if they do, how do you answer those?
Well, I tell people I can only tell you what I'm being told.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm not going to make anything up. And I've had people who come that will take their wedding ring off and act like they're not married, and yet I'm being told they are. So in other words, if you go see someone, don't
be deceitful.
Right, because a lot of people go in just to see if the person they're talking to is legit or not. And I've even had people come in and use a different name just to try to throw me off. And what happens if you put on a false identity, then that you're giving that person, if you put on a false identity, you are actually taking on, it's like you're in a play and you're being that character. And so then that you're going to get different information because you're not being yourself.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. And you get what you gave, right? In other words.
Right. Yeah. You have to be, if you're going to go see somebody, first of all, you're there for them to talk to you. So don't sit there and say, my uncle just died and I got to move and my car broke down. Let them tell you that your uncle just died and that you're going to be moving and you better get your car looked at.
Oh, okay.
In other words, sit down and keep your mouth shut. Let the person you're going to go see talk to the client.
Did you notice that most people do a lot of talking?
Yeah, and especially if they're going through any type of hardship and stuff. And a lot of times, the psychic's not really that much different than somebody like a therapist, because you go in and some people unload, and it's better that you have the conversation after after the psychic or intuitive is done speaking. Then you can talk and balance everything out. But if you're going to go see him or her, let them speak to you first.
First. Okay, fair enough. All right.
Because a
So
lot of times too, if you're speaking to spirit, they sometimes don't, they'll get to what you went there to talk about, but a lot of times it takes a while for them to even get to why that person went there.
So if the person comes to you and the spirit never comes, how do you handle that defeat? You know, I mean, when your customer comes and they're expecting maybe to talk to their father to show up and they don't, what is the words? What am I trying to say here, Russ? How do you comfort that person?
Well, what I tell them when they make their appointment, I said, as you're driving here, just think about whatever it is you want to talk about. And a lot of people get confused. They think if they're going to go see a psychic, they're only going to talk to people who have crossed over. A lot of times somebody will come in and it could be their father who lives 3 towns away, but they haven't spoken in a while, and his energy will be there. All he wants to say is, why don't you give me a call, or I'm going to call you, and we got these matters we got to resolve. And so that way they can build bridges while they're still living.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because you just assume you're going to be talking to somebody who's crossed over.
Right. No, it's completely different. You can even be talking to your future boss, and it's the energies that you speak to.
Oh, that's interesting. That's important to know that.
Right.
The energies. And if you get somebody you're feeling is kind of cranky and they're just to size you up, can you feel that right away? Can you feel that energy? You can.
Right.
And does that ultimately turn out to be a bad reading?
Not really, because it's a lot of times it's when you're reading somebody who doesn't believe in what you do, usually what I'll tell them, because I'll pick up on it, I said, you really don't want to be here. And I said, and a lot of times if I'm reading somebody and I know they're not pleased, I just tell them that I'm not charging them for this, but I do suggest that they tape it, because a lot of times when you're actually in the session, you don't remember what's being said. So later when you go back and listen to the tape, you'll hear things that you were not aware of at that time. And so it's...
You promote taping it and everything.
Right.
You suggest, yes, go ahead, tape this. I got no secrets. Go ahead and tape this.
Right. And if you go to somebody and they don't let you tape it, then I don't know if I would stay, because I know I do not remember what I say. So if I see somebody on Monday and they call me on Friday, want to know what I said, I don't know. Sometimes it's like I get an instant replay and I can see what happened. But so if they're not willing to let you tape it, then it's like they're not willing to back up their own words, what they said.
Okay.
And so it's better just to go in, and if you're going to see somebody, leave your concerns or whatever in the car. Just go in and relax. And then through the course of the conversation, certain things will pop up that they usually aren't even thinking of. Like it could be an uncle who you've never met wants to say something to you.
Okay.
But it's basically
it's all pretty intuitive for you. You can get a lot from the person's body language. It's a lot of body language then.
I don't really read their body language. I just read the energy that they bring in with them. And once you get someone to relax, it's like, I hate using the word hit, but a lot of people say once you get one hit, you get one thing right. And then they seem to relax, because then they can let down their defenses.
Right. But Russ, I know you also do phone readings. Now, how do you get the energies from a phone reading?
It's what I do for a phone read. I have them send me their signature. And what the signature does, because I will do nothing without permission. So when they send me
Okay.
their signature, that's giving me permission to look.
Okay.
And then in so many words, it's like, I can't explain it, but it's like and I don't do handwriting analysis, but it's like the name will start talking to me. And so it's like I sit down with the name before I actually get on the phone with the person. And then I just tell them before they call me to have some questions written out so they know, so they don't get so absorbed into what's being said that they forget to ask the questions.
Okay, fair
And
enough.
it's just, again, it's the same way as in person, but because I don't really sit there and look at their face to see if I got it right or not or anything else, because I do care what I say, but again, it's coming through me, not from me.
Oh, that's interesting. Well put, Russ. I like
Right.
that.
And so,
So, in conclusion, let's wrap this up. What would you call this, a burden or a gift?
I consider it a gift, but at the same time, if people know what I do, if I go to certain functions or stuff, people kind of sometimes shy away thinking I'm going to pick up something they don't want me to know,
Mm-hmm.
which if anybody knows me, they know that unless I'm being asked, I'm not getting in their business.
Well, you've made that
And
pretty clear. You have boundaries.
right. And
Yeah.
so it's just, I guess I respect myself and I respect the spirit and I respect the client.
Okay,
Not per
fair
se in
enough.
that order, but it's just whatever I say. If I have a husband and wife and I read the wife first, I'm not going to say to the husband what the wife just told me.
Okay, all right.
Because I'm only going to talk to the person who's sitting across from me.
All right. Okay.
Right.
So about respect, right?
Right. And when I first started doing this, the one thing that surprised me the most of the time spirit would come through. They just wanted to come through and say either I'm sorry or I appreciate how you helped me cross over or I love you.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
that's why it's so important right now for people to speak your mind while you still can. Don't wait till you're dead to say to somebody, I love you.
Oh, I like that, Russ.
Right.
All right.
And it's true.
All right.
So,
Well, give me something very, very, very prolific right here in closing.
like what?
Like, should people seek you out, or should people listen to their gut instincts, or should people, just like you said, say it while you're alive? I mean, just give me something profound here. Just
right.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, if there's something that you might feel you might regret not doing, just people will respect you more if you can speak clearly without judgment.
Yeah.
In other words, speak to
judges.
somebody like you don't have to be their friend, but you have to respect them.
Right.
And so it's like, listen to your own intuition. You know what to do and what not to do. And when you don't, then find somebody else who you can trust that you can just speak with.
Okay.
And then everybody has somebody on the other side to help them. And so when you get in the car to go see somebody, bring them with you.
Everybody has that person?
I believe you do. I believe we all have somebody who we are their assignment from the womb to the tomb. And they're there to be there because it's, they want to help, and we shouldn't refuse help when it's given to us from a good source. And so,
okay. All right, Russ, will you do this again with me?
Sure.
All right. We're going to talk again. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Say goodbye.
Okay. Bye-bye.